Listen on your computer anywhere. AM 970, theapple.com.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio New York City with your local expert, Kerry Lutz. Now here's Kerry Lutz.
Hi, thanks for staying with us. My next guest is Robert M. Fox, a noted New York bankruptcy attorney, and he's here with us to tell you about senior citizen bankruptcy. Hi, Robert. You there?
Hi, Gary. How are you?
Great, great. Thanks for coming back with us. We really
My pleasure.
appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So I've gotten emails from listeners, and they want to know, when should a senior citizen go bankrupt?
That's a good question. I mean, an elderly person would file bankruptcy because of the fact that their fixed income, whether it be a pension, Social Security, or both, wouldn't be enough to cover their ordinary living expenses. A senior citizen might have past due debt with accruing interest rates, and bankruptcy would be a sensible solution. In addition, is the rising cost of many medications, despite Medicare, increased co-payments. Seniors in general need more care than your average non-senior. So keeping up with those costs in addition to past due debt might be a little bit onerous. Therefore, bankruptcy would be a way to eliminate that debt, at least Chapter 7 bankruptcy would be, and they could get a fresh start and live really off their pensions and Social Security without having to worry about dedicating a part or all of that income towards paying their credit card debt.
Sure. So elderly people have a little bit more of a hang-up, I think, about the stigma of bankruptcy, don't they?
I would think so. Many elderly people have worked hard their whole life. Therefore, they're entitled to their Social Security, which has not yet adjusted to the cost of living, what it costs to live in today's society and today's age. And they usually have a negative connotation of bankruptcy. But in essence, it's a mechanism that could help them.
I'm sure it can. And their Social Security, their pension, that's all safe from creditors?
Yeah, those are exempt sources of income.
So they don't have to worry about that?
No, they do not.
Because if you seniors out there have a fear about losing your Social Security or your pension, it's safe.
Further, the retirement assets, IRAs, and those the Roth IRAs are exempt up to $1,095,000, I believe.
And if they had more than that, they probably wouldn't be considering filing, would they?
That is correct, Harry.
So what about cars and homes? How do they retain those assets?
Okay, well, a senior citizen wouldn't have any other preferential treatment to the standard debtor. Overall, they'll receive the same exemption in a motor vehicle, for example. Under New York state law, the exemption is $2,400. Most people in today's day and age have loans on their vehicle. As long as there's no more than $2,400 worth of equity, so to speak, in their vehicle or value in their vehicle, they'll be able to maintain that car. As for a house, the homestead exemption is $50,000 if the house is in a husband and wife's name and they're both jointly on the deed. That exemption would double to $100,000. So in essence, $100,000 worth of equity would be protected in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which would thus enable them to wipe out all of their unsecured debt, at least that debt that is dischargeable, and still maintain their house.
So it's really throwing them a lifesaver, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and also something to note. In today's market, the market is depressed. Many individuals, many seniors would not have equity in their house. Although, in the next 10 years, the housing market probably will go up, and they would accrue some significant equity in their home. Therefore, it would make sense for them to file bankruptcy now before the debt accrues to an unmanageable point with the high interest rates. And they thus would be able to protect their house at the same time and not have to either have a lien affixed to it in the future for the full amount of the debt, or any other liens encumbering their property.
Right, and if they're severely underwater in their home, then they could get a modification or just
walk.
Right,
a modification can always be done through the bankruptcy courts. Both the Eastern and Southern District in New York have adopted loss mitigation procedures which would enable a debtor to, in essence, work out a loan modification while in bankruptcy or within the bankruptcy case.
Because I think a lot of people out there, if you're considering a bankruptcy, you have a fear that they're not allowed to do the cram down in bankruptcy and extract a concession from the lender, so why bother?
Right, I see where you're coming from on that point. I mean, in essence, I have a lot of clients that want to walk away from their home. On top of that, it just doesn't pay. I mean, the value, if an individual who bought their house in 2006 or 2007, would have a difficulty keeping the mortgage with the loan, and it just wouldn't pay. In addition, you can't remove a second mortgage unless the property is underwater on the first, and they're fully not undersecured but unsecured, if that makes sense.
Oh, sure. And by a cram down, we're talking about the court forcing a modification, cramming it down the throats of the lender, right?
That would not work. That would work in a Chapter 13 bankruptcy as opposed to a 7, but you could not cram down the value of the house, especially if it's not underwater on the first mortgage.
Mm-hmm. But when the bank sees that you've filed and they know that you can walk away from the property, do they become reasonable oftentimes?
So they become reasonable with their interest rates. A lot of my clients have had teaser rates or ARMs, and these rates, they shoot up to an unreasonable interest. Thus, the monthly mortgage payments go up unreasonably, and the homeowner can't afford to keep their house or continue to make those payments. The banks will work with you, and usually the clients will get, depending on which program they're eligible for, will get a 30-year fixed with an affordable interest rate.
So that really can extricate your average senior who's underwater and give them a lifeline to keep their home, if that's what they want to do, and make their debt a manageable, keep the rate at a manageable level.
There are also other mechanisms the senior could use, such as a reversible mortgage, if they have significant equity in their home, and they're not eligible for Chapter 7 bankruptcy.
Sure, we can see that. So all in all, if you have an elderly person and they've worked hard their whole lives, they've followed the rules of the system. We all know people like that. If you know anybody like that, they really have this built-in fear factor of filing, and you see them really acting against their own self-interest. How do you explain to somebody like that this is what you need to do, because they've got this built-in resistance to it?
I would say it's up to the family members, children especially of seniors, to recommend bankruptcy, to sit down and explain to them that it's not the end of the world. They've tried. Everybody is suffering in today's slushy economy, and it's something that will afford them a fresh start in the future, something that will enable them to enjoy their golden years as opposed to being harassed by their creditors.
Yeah, I can see that. And they bought a house, and a lot of you out there bought houses as investments rather than as a place to live. And now that investment basically soured, and you're left with the aftermath of it. So bankruptcy will really give them the ability to deal with that like no other means available, won't it?
Correct.
Yeah, so really we need to sit down with seniors, if you know somebody or if you have a friend who's a senior, and say, look, it didn't work out the way that we wanted, the economy's not where it should be, but this is a way of dealing with it that will save you in the long run, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so with seniors, really they have particular considerations that perhaps a younger person in their 30s or 40s wouldn't have. But in effect, bankruptcy is the same for a senior as for a younger person than it is, isn't it?
The process is the same. Nothing changes. The exemptions are all the same. There's no preferential treatment for a senior citizen over any other debtor.
Yeah, it's just that, I guess, just like medically, seniors have special considerations. Legally, they have special considerations as well, and you have to kind of go with a family-type approach to enable them to effectively deal with it, don't you?
Right, that's true, and I feel, at least upon my experience, that many seniors, from an income standpoint, are eligible for Chapter 7 bankruptcy because of the fact that they have fixed income, Social Security income, pension income, and quite honestly, it's never enough to cover the bills.
Sure, I can understand that. So when a senior is coming to see you, would you recommend that they bring a daughter, a son, or somebody else with them so that you can explain it to the family member along with them? And
well, absolutely. It's really I would say either up to friends and family to walk the senior through the bankruptcy process and to assist them. There are certain technical things that need to be addressed, like the debtor education, the credit counseling requirements for Chapter 7 and 13 bankruptcy, amongst other things. And further, the meeting with the trustee, the Section 341 meeting, or the meeting of creditors, can be very intimidating to a senior. So it would be wise to have a family member or a close friend present at that meeting.
Sure, I can see where that would really be helpful. So, Robert, we want to thank you for coming on again. Can you just give the audience out there your website and your phone number?
Sure. I can always be contacted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 1-800-473-1581. That's 1-800-473-1581. And you can always visit me on the web, and my web address is rfoxlaw.com. That's rfoxlaw.com.
All right, Robert. Well, hey, thanks so much for being with us. It's been a pleasure as always, and we'll look forward to having you on the show again.
Thank you for having me, Kerry.
Okay, take care.
Take care.
Bye.